Greetings and bienvenue, my fantastic freelancer friends. My name is William, and in today's video, as you could probably guess by the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about Anthem's crafting system. Now, apologies for this video not going up on Monday. Basically, I've been having a time and a half with Anthem with connectivity issues and server issues and pilot loading data issues and just about every type of connectivity issue you can imagine, which is kind of why I won't be having any new footage for these videos, at least for the foreseeable future, until they can get these things fixed. But let's talk about Anthem's crafting system. And I believe I have a short-term solution, or multiple solutions, plural, that I think could really make the crafting system viable in Anthem again. And of course, it all kind of revolves around Ember. Now, first and foremost, I fully believe that you should be able to transmog Ember. And when I say transmog Ember, I mean like take 5 uncommon Ember and turn it into 1 rare Ember, and maybe 10 rare Ember into 1 epic Ember, and so on and so forth. Because, let's face it, you've probably got a slew of uncommon and rare Ember just piling up in your inventory. At least when it's in epic Ember form, it can actually do something worth a damn. And by that, I mean it can turn into the 30% additional consumables that are really vital in GM 2 and 3 contracts, missions, strongholds, and so on. But that's kind of a more basic side of crafting. The more vital side, or the larger side of the whole ordeal, would be to be able to craft components, weapons, attachments, and so on. But William, we're already able to do that. Yeah, kinda, sorta. As many of you know, or you're working towards right now, there is the challenge of Tarsus, which is where you will get the gold crafting material, but possibly even more vital is a good number of very important and very crucial components that you'll be able to craft. Specifically, masterwork variants. Now, it's been argued, and not so much argued as it is a blatant fact, that by the time that you complete this challenge, you won't have need for those masterwork components anymore, as you will more than likely already have them, or you will have the legendary components. Which is kind of the whole moral of the story with Anthem's crafting system. By the time you're able to craft the masterwork version, you're already seeking out the legendary variants. And yeah, sure, with the current state of legendary weapons, many masterwork variants are better than the legendaries. I can't tell you how many legendary siege breakers I've gotten that are nowhere near as good as my masterwork variant. But the point still stands that by the time you're able to craft the masterwork variants, you are looking for the legendaries. Because the legendaries are in fact the endgame, and that's what you're currently trying to strive towards. Now, I say that the legendaries are the endgame, which kind of implies that there is an endgame in Anthem. Currently, that's the endgame for your gear, I suppose. Not so much aspirational content. But let's say that Anthem opened up the gates and said, hey, here you go, you can craft legendary weapons now. What's to stop everybody from hunting down legendary Ember in order to craft this stuff? Well, there are a couple workarounds. First and foremost being the transmog system. Personally, I think the Ember transmog should end with epic Ember. In other words, you're not able to turn 15 epic Ember into a single masterwork Ember, or 25 masterwork Ember into a single legendary. Think of it kind of like a brand new system in Anthem. The only way to get legendary Ember would be to complete GM3 versions of everything. This would give people a reason to go and hunt down GM3 contracts or GM3 missions, or set up their stuff to go and do the GM3 content, because currently nobody's really playing those modes. Especially when, and yeah, I know I'm beating a dead horse at this point, GM1 is more than likely to give you the same stuff you'll get at GM2 and GM3. Have a single legendary Ember drop from the final boss, but make sure that it is a guaranteed drop. Now that kind of opens up a whole new level of possibilities and issues. Now players are able to craft legendary items pretty regularly, now that they are able to get legendary Ember from GM3 contracts, missions, strongholds, and so on. Well, there needs to be a time gate now. Not necessarily, hey, you can only get 1 legendary Ember a day, but maybe that there needs to be a certain number of legendary Embers in order to craft something. I mean, it takes 15 to 25 masterwork Embers to craft anything, and Ember is supposed to be a byproduct of the Anthem, and legendary Ember would supposedly be the most rare form of that Ember. So maybe require it to be 10 legendary Embers to craft a legendary weapon, component, or so on. And personally, I think that's a pretty fair trade. That prevents people from crafting these things and churning them out left and right, but it gives them a guaranteed means of getting legendary items. But then that kind of leads us into how do they get the legendary blueprints? Do they just level it up like they do everything else? Well, I think that is a possibility, but I would like to see something else. Maybe once a day or once a week or every so often, there'll be a contract that'll reward you with an unknown legendary crafting blueprint thing. This would prevent players from getting the meta stuff really early on. For instance, the 3 components that make the storm practically invincible, or the grenade that gives the ranger practically unlimited ultimate. Yeah, it would take a while and would add another time gate, and I can see people complaining about it, but I think that's a very relatively fair trade-off. You're not going to get Divine Vengeance on your first try, or you could possibly get Divine Vengeance on your first try, aka the best assault rifle in the game right now. But there's also a chance of you getting Artinia's Gambit. So not only do you have to face off and complete GM3 content, but now you also have to get the blueprints. Now, we have no idea what they're working on behind the scenes with the crafting system or the loot system or anything right now. But like I said, I think that this would be a cool temporary patch to the whole loot situation, and the crafting situation with it being practically useless at this point, especially by the time that you get into the endgame. But one of the other means, which I think would be a possibly more reasonable solution for right now, with the developers working to do God knows what, cataclysms, something, I don't know, there hasn't been too much communication, would be to make every so many masterworks that you craft, there is a chance that it can be legendary. In other words, there might be a 10% chance of me crafting a masterwork Divine Vengeance, let's say, that I will get a legendary variant that'll pop up in its place. I think that would be a very fair solution, and maybe wouldn't be as difficult as starting to include legendary Ember into the loot tables, adding missions that would randomize your odds of getting a crafting blueprint, and so on and so forth. This would also give you a guaranteed means of at least a legendary variant of the stuff that you want. But what do you all think about my 2 proposed crafting solutions? I think the transmog is kind of a given and should be included anyway, but would you rather have the means of getting legendary Ember at the end of GM3 content in order to craft legendary items, or would you rather have the chance of crafting legendary stuff from Masterwork Crafting? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as I really do read through all of your comments, and I will respond if there's conversational potential, which I get the feeling there's going to be a fair amount of with this video. And as always, I wanted to give a very big and special thank you to all of my patrons and channel members for their generous donations and support of your Anthem. Your support really does mean the world to me, and I cannot thank you all enough for it. It goes a long way to helping me maintain and enhance the quality of the content we produce here on Your Anthem, and for that, I'm forever humbled and grateful to each and every last one of you. I hope all of you fantastic freelancers have a phenomenal day as always, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the next video very soon. And remember, freelancers, we are strong alone, but we are stronger together.